Buongiorno, how are your doings today? Turn the light down a bit. I'm a bit bright there, a bit bright. Oh, I'm a bit brown. How you doing? Good to see you. Today is the 30th of December and this is the penultimate natter because I am nattering until the end of the year. And then I'll continue nattering. I just won't be nattering every day here. I saw Hal Robinson's hilarious Instagram post. I get locked down, but I get up again. You ain't never gonna lock me down permanently. Apart from tier 4, which is basically a lockdown. You just call it something else. But I get knocked down, and I get up again. I get tier 4, and I get up again. The 3 R's of resilience are the same 3 R's as the 3 R's of reinvention. Okay, you take responsibility for what you can control, and only for what you can control. You reach out and stop imagining that you can solve all the problems yourself with your own set of resources. You actually connect with others, and also you reach beyond what you believe is possible. So rather than saying, oh, computer says no, what can I do? I've got no choice. You actually dig into your own personal agency and reach beyond the original story that we tell ourselves that we can't do anything. And the 3rd R is reframe, the greatest of all the R's. And reframe is really about being able, it's the time between when you fall down, when you get knocked down and you get up again. It's that distance. It's not your ability to get back up again, it's the time. Because you could like recover from something, but it takes you 60 years. Or you could recover from the same thing, but you can do it in days because you've got a foundation of reframe underneath. So for me, in my example, I would get locked down. Hey Dan, how you doing? I would get locked down or knocked down, like struggling at school, failing exams. And for me, failing my A-levels wasn't just, oh, that's disappointing. It meant that I had nowhere to live, I had nothing to eat, and I had no job because I was finished at the community house. If I wasn't going to university, I had nothing. I was looking at being on the streets and, I don't know, being on the streets, begging, selling my body. Literally, that's where I was. So finding out I failed my A-levels was kind of like massive lockdown. And it wasn't just that. It wasn't just the survival thing because I'd survived on the streets before. It was more the fact that I'd worked so flipping hard that I'd not necessarily on the revision side of things, but on the just turning up, just getting there, not giving up. It would be so much easier for me to say, well, the system isn't designed for people who don't have parents to carry on studying, so I might as well just give up and sign on and I didn't, because I wanted to get A-levels, I wanted to go to uni, I wanted to be a teacher. So I felt betrayed. I don't know who betrayed me, but I felt like I'd given everything I got and it wasn't enough. I felt like I wasn't enough. And the time between feeling like I wasn't enough and then getting back to the point where I was doing it, it took a year and a half, and even at mindset wise, and even at the point a year later where I was standing at uni in my halls, there was this whole thing of like, I can't quite comprehend that this has happened, but there was still this, but am I good enough? There was still this kind of doubt. It stayed, and it stayed right through uni, if I'm honest, and it stayed right through into my early years of teaching, and it didn't really dissipate until I'd turned 40. Hey Marcelo, good to see you live. Didn't really dissipate until after I'd turned 40, maybe 48, somewhere around there, because that was when I kind of got involved with Women Ed and all that stuff. So the time between a setback and the time between coming back from that setback, that's the magic number. That's why the 3 R's of reinvention are the same as the 3 R's of resilience, responsibility, reach out and reframe. And what I want to encourage you in your story, your next story, your 2021 story, which is going to be different to your 2020 story, your 2021 story, of which you have the pen in your hand right now, fund it around these like 3 R's. You can't go wrong if you just take responsibility for what you're responsible for. There are a load of things you can't control. Stop worrying about them. It's pouring. It's like when my kids open the door and I've got the heating on and all I can see is £10 notes flying out the window. And I'm like, shut it up, you're just throwing money away. But obviously, I'm much calmer than that. Not. But there's this whole thing of like, if I am spending my energy, if I'm pointing my focus towards things that I can't control, where my focus goes, my energy will flow, and my energy is flowing out of the door and down the street. I'm just giving it away with no return. I'm not inspiring anyone else. I'm not encouraging anyone. I'm not generating any safety or security or happiness for myself. I'm literally throwing it away. If you worry about things that you're not responsible for, I mean, if you look at it from an alien point of view, right, not someone who has suffered from the human condition like we do. If you look at it from the point of view of someone who is of a being that is examining what humans do, and you think, okay, so you can't control the outcome of this situation, and yet you've spent the last 3 days worrying about the outcome of this situation. I mean, you can't do anything. So when you can't do anything, what can you do? And knowing what to do when you don't know what to do is really important. When you can't change and affect, you can't have any effect on a situation, there is still something you can do. You can choose not to let that situation drive you. You can choose not to let the fear of what might happen drive your bus. You can choose not to be led by threat, but to be led by freedom. You can opt into that. And it's not an easy choice. It's not easy. Because the easiest choice is to do what everyone else does, do what you've always done, just worry and get stressed. But the choice that's not so easy, the smaller choices that you have to shine a light on to see, that you need someone to grease you up like the tiger in Madagascar 3 so you can slip through, those choices are also there. They are always there. You never have no choice. And those choices are harder. But when you take them, freedom, George Michael 1982, freedom, it's all there. Organise our thoughts into 2 circles: concern and influence. Focus on those you can influence. Dan, I like that. So I have things I can choose and things that I can't choose, and I put things in boxes and like, right, if I have no choice, no control, then there's no point in digging into that box. But I like that, concern and influence. Yes, because it's not that we're dismissing. I'm not saying like, don't worry, don't get sad, don't be negative, be positive all the time. That's not how I function. I don't know anyone who functions like that. I am saying you've got to put it in you've got to sort it. You've got to put it in the right box. You've got to decide what you're going to invest in and what you're not. Because there are different types of capital. And whenever we get into struggle, we always think of financial capital first. And financial capital, you can make money, lose money. That's how it works. But there are other types of capital, like intellectual capital. If you've got intellectual capital and you find yourself in no financial capital, you can then generate financial capital because you've got intellectual capital. So I would worry more about that. Then there's things like relational capital. If you've got relational capital, then you've always got people who will support you and encourage you to get intellectual capital, to get financial capital. So if financial capital is the lowest thing you can worry about, the lowest thing. I think the highest thing is spiritual capital. Because if you are, like, without getting too woo-woo, at one with yourself, at peace with yourself, comfortable in your own skin, and if you feel, it could be church, it could be, faith, it could be community, but if you feel that there's something bigger than you that you are part of and you are moving in alignment with, that's incredibly powerful for mindset. That's why family is work. That's why friendships. Humans are designed for community. We're always joining bird clubs and, Housewives of LA County. We're always joining together in some way. Even introverts, even people who are like, I need my own space, will still need community. Just in a different way. So the taking control of what you can control and worrying about that, and what you can't control, stopping worrying about it, is just a really good tactic. This is what I'm doing a New Year survival guide, as in survival to thriving. People talk about surviving disaster, and I'm like, if you just keep breathing, it's a bit of a low bar, isn't it? Thriving is fantastic, but sometimes thriving is everything's fine, it leads to thriving. But driving change, that's the highest. Forget surviving, go past thriving, drive change. And in doing that, start with the first start of taking responsibility to worry and focus your influence. Focus on things that you can influence. I love that, Dan. Thanks for that. And then the second one of reaching out. This is so important. If you do this with your arms, right? This is your garden of possibility, right? Here's your head, everything you think about and worry about and plan and fail. And here's your garden of possibility. Here's everything that's possible in your world. See how small it is? Can you notice how I'm in this room? There's loads of stuff outside my garden of possibility. And the thing is, if you only ever mine your own garden of possibility, if you only ever think about yourself and what you could do and how you can fix things, it's a small pool. It's like having the Olympics. It's like asking Tom Daley to dive into a puddle. There's a whole body of water. The earth is mostly water. Why would you limit it to this puddle that your life experience could be summed up in a teacup, for crying out loud? There's a wealth of human experience out there. Stop trying to solve all your own problems yourself. It's insane. There are so many people who've been through so many things similar to you, but have reacted in different ways. So reach out beyond what you believe is possible, because that's just one perspective, isn't it? My friend used to have a badge like at McDonald's. It says, "Hello, my name is Perspective." It's not. That's just one perspective. There are so many other perspectives. I get perspective and perception. The moon, kind of the same thing, but I'll get them mixed up. So reach out. And the other aspect of reaching out is, it's the same thing. It's people. I just think I have this whole thing where I made myself a sign to put around my neck that said, challenge me if I don't ask for help. Because I'm a bugger for wanting to do it all myself. Not so much now, because I've changed my jacket. I wear this coat now where I'm part of a family and part of a community, and I reach out more. But I still have this human thing of like, oh, you can't do it, you're not good enough. And it plays sometimes and stop. It means I don't always ask for help at the opportune moment. I wait until I'm at the point where I'm like, this is impossible. And then someone says, well, yeah, but have you done this? And I'm like, what? Melt a butter, what? So reach out. And like I say, reframe, the ability to get back up when you get locked down. That's the greatest one. And that's an art form, and it's a rehearsed art form. It's an intentional choice. It's not something that just happens. Oh, you're really good. I get that a lot from people who know me. You are amazing at pivoting, Jazz. Your ability to pivot, to reframe, to hit a wall and go right and go. And yeah, part of that is from being a kid in care and being a bit of a street kid. If you develop that or you die. So I developed it. So for a long time, it wasn't something that I celebrated or acknowledged or even enjoyed, because it's partly why I felt so different the whole time as an adult who was in a different world to the one I grew up in. But that pivoting, that reframing happens. I'm able to do that because I anchor it to, what do you want? What's your why? What matters most? Because that's never going to change. Even when you hit disaster, you still want the same. It's just that you're here. And I always imagine it like being like in a maze. It doesn't matter where you are in that maze. You might feel, oh, I've hit a dead end. You might think, oh my gosh, I'm sure I didn't come here before. But it looks like the same place. The maze is still the maze. There's still a way in, there's still a way out, and there's still lots of routes along the way. And there are other people in there. Wherever you are, that's your perspective, your perception of what's going on. But there are always other ones. And the more you can tap into those, the better. So reframing for me is like, what would Beyonce do? What would Margaret Thatcher do? I'm just trying to imagine someone else in this situation. And even if what Beyonce would do is not what I would do, it's still another perspective of what could happen. So basically, in 2021, give yourself the gift of getting out your own way. Yeah, get out your own way. We are our biggest obstacles to growth and change. We're our mindset, our past experience, our journey so far, our script is the biggest obstacle to what we want, because everything you want is on the other side of what you're scared of doing. And when I talk about fear, people say, oh, I'm not scared. Really? Because you behave like someone who is afraid of making mistakes. You behave like someone who is taking a risk is too much. And we pass this on to our kids. One thing I want my kids to be, I want them to fail spectacularly. I want them to completely fail epically and know how to turn it around. Of course I do, because I'm not going to be there when they hit problems in their relationships. I might, hopefully, but there is going to be a good 50 years where they're going to be alive and I'm not. I'm not very good at maths. Is it going to be 50 years? So I had my youngest at 41. So what does that mean? Does that mean when he's 50, I'll be 100? And yeah, it works. So yeah, they're going to have 50 years where I'm not here. So I am here in an advisory capacity because I've got a couple of teenagers until the point where, I don't get to be around anymore, and at that point, I want them to know what to do when they don't know what to do, and you can't learn that unless you experience. Well, you can learn it, you can read it in a book, but experiencing it means that whenever I hit a failure, when lockdown first came, and there was this realization that I had no income and no business, and I couldn't pay my mortgage, and I wouldn't be able to shop for food, and I have lived like that. I have lived at the point where I'm going to have to sell everything I own, sell clothes, sell not an eBay fun like, oh, let's make some money, but literally sell a jumper so I can eat and then be cold because I don't have the jumper. I mean, I sold my coat when I was 18. I sold my coat to a friend at college who really liked it and then didn't have a coat. But that £23 that she gave me, which was a fortune in those days, and it's still quite a lot of money for a coat, £23, paid for my rent that week, and also I bought some pasta. Did I buy tea? I think I bought pasta and a box of tea with it. And that's what I ate. So it kept me going. It was a wise investment for me. So I've lived on that line and I know what that feels like. And there's always this, when you've been hungry, there's always this intrinsic fear of ending up there again. Because the horror of trying to live moment to moment is so hard. But I reframe because I know I can. I've done it so many times. I mean, it just becomes this habit, this resilience ninja like habit. I'm so good at failing well and reframing. I can hit it and do it. And when lockdown hit, the first thing I thought is like, okay, I can choose to worry, or I can choose to be a bit more pragmatic. I've got enough income. I could live for 2 months without starving. So let's focus on that. What can I do in 2 months? And I started serving and creating videos and showing up for my people, for teachers and educators. And then I put a course together after a couple of months and sold that and generated some income from that. And then I transferred my business into, what I always did digital stuff anyway, but digital, online, interactive keynotes, everyday hero toolkits, and courses for individuals on, business and entrepreneurship. I'm happier. I'm more fulfilled because I don't have to be running around, all the time. And I miss people, and I'll go back to that, but not the same. 2021 is your chance to reframe, to reimagine. Don't throw it away by worrying about whether there'll be a vaccine in time or whether, what's going to happen. You can't control it. Oh, and a special note for teachers. I love the fact that you've got the 4 T's now, haven't you? You've got the 4 T's. Yeah? Teaching is now not an accurate term for what you do anymore because you've got to track, trace, test, and if you've got time, teach. And don't forget to keep everyone apart. And at the same time, I mean, am I the only one noticing that, like, a few months ago, this time last year, teachers were meant to teach, and that was an impossible job. They were meant to do have loads of impact with hardly any resource, and their success rate, their income often depends on whether the kids pass an exam or not at the end, which doesn't actually prepare them for life unless they're going on to do academic study even more. That was their job. It's a little bit soul destroying. You give you all to it. That was their job. Now, tracking, tracing, testing, and keeping people separate and safe. Has anyone noticed that their job is like quadrupled and then quadrupled again, and they're still doing it? Because if that happened in plumbing, right? If that happened in accountancy, there'd be a freaking riot. There'd be a riot. The ability teachers have to absorb and keep going is schools. The ability schools have to keep going. You know why? Because their why is about your kids. That's why. Because their why is not about themselves. It's about your kids. And they will keep driving. They will keep driving to stand for your kids. It's amazing. That's a why like that. You want to look at reinvention, reimagining, go to your local primary school. It's all there. Anyway, I've got to go because I'm going to make a dress. Hey, Vicky. Or if my PA is watching, do some emails. No, it's all good. So have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow for the final Natter of 365. What is even that? It's a number. It's Marcelo, it's because you're here. 365. I'm doing numbers. I'll see you tomorrow on the last day of the year, on day 365 of this Natter. Oh, one more thing. All the videos I do, right? I don't know, hopefully you can tell. I don't have a script, right? Everything I do is out my head. So, yes, sometimes it rambles and goes on to different points. And yes, also people are like, yes, but some of the bits are so script. So you can you can see how you want, but I am literally thinking out loud. I'm really good at thinking out loud. And that's what I'm doing. Hey, hi, Kia. So take it as you like. As you like, as Shakespeare would say. And have a really good day. It's the only 30th of the 12th, 20 that you're ever going to be able to experience. It's a unique and beautiful opportunity to make a decision about reimagining and reinventing and reframing and taking responsibility for the things you're responsible for, and only those things, and reaching out. So start now.